We were muted. Okay, so we are here on signal 5, gate 5, the third wave of the second current of Who Do You Listen To? And we invite it to take a breath because this is not just something for the ears to hear or the eyes to see. This is something for the ears and the eyes to surrender to that awareness that live streams through consciousness, through experience, through perspective. What a gift that is. That out of countless mirrors of information, we get to recognize what is the source of all perceived data, knowledge, experience, perspective, which falls into belief, assumption, judgment, acceptance. We get to experience that awareness that is dancing through, within, and as all of that. What a beautiful gift that is. If we really think about it, in this lifetime, there's never been a culmination of consciousness that will be spoken of for generations to come. And think about this for a moment before we begin. Out of anywhere you can be, the person, the vessel, out of anywhere the mind can be given attention to, is here. Think about that for 1 second. That is instrumentally, monumentally, simply huge, because you didn't even have to do anything. Like, you didn't have to figure out what you were going to watch today, where you were going to tune in today. You just tuned in. And whether you tuned in, whether the mind tuned in live or on the replay, what is time to the infinite? The mind experiences time. The infinite only experiences presence. So, sharing this beautiful mirror of consciousness, that of all the places that the mind can be, it is here, in this now, recognizing home. As you feel the body and you sense the sensations of the mind, the thoughts and the perspectives, notice there's nothing that we are reflecting to go seek, to go chase, to go search, to go endlessly strive for a better tomorrow, or to appear to fix what we think was broken in the past. It is truly here now. It is vibrantly here now. Yet, that awareness is so subtle that the mind demands attention, just like social media, just like the media in general demands attention for status, for ratings, for sponsorship, for approval. Because if it's not approved, it cannot continue. And the mind operates in that way. The mind created social media. The mind channeled social media. The mind channeled the media, calling it the good news. But we forgot what the good news is. Referred to as the gospel, referred as the kingdom of heaven, referred as paradise on earth, peace on earth, the new earth, the golden age. But what really is this? Because we put so many words on so many things, but do we truly embody the existential, experiential essence of that? Drop in for a second. I know we breathed earlier, but just drop in for a second. Just feel what is vibrantly alive here and now. And as we go into this beautiful podcast as portal, This is an invitation to come together, to unite. This is a call to action. As you're investing your attention all the time, the question is, are you investing in fear, in stress, in anxiety, worry, and doubt? Fight, flight, freeze mode? Are you investing as a universal channel, as the universal flow of I am consciousness, God, source, universe, life, whatever you want to call that? It's all the same thing. Doesn't matter what you call it. And I know that may sound kind of heavy for the mind that says, no, but it's this because it's that. How does the mind feel, beloved, when it tells you how to think? How does it feel? So we're going into the first mirror. And this is the continuation. Also, we meant to mention, this is the continuation of last week's invitation as initiation to look into the portal of the mirror of consciousness, the mirror of awareness. So this is current number 2. And we're getting to know the technology mirror because last week we shared the screen on top of the screen, which we didn't realize that we can do that. Because we haven't, it's been a while since we utilized technology in this way. So without further ado, here we go. So welcome to the podcast. Gratitude for you being here, because out of all places you could be, out of all places the mind could be, because you are beyond the mind, beloved. And this is why the consistent transmission is, who do you listen to? You're going to listen to somebody. You're going to listen to something. That is undeniable. Undeniable. The question is, who are you listening to on a daily basis? As it says right here, what you listen to shapes your life. We had to move our little bubble there. The bubble. So who you listen to shapes your life. And think about what we shared last week, which we're going to go into a little review, a recap. But look at how we invested into the greatest perceived technology, but yet we forgot the simple, the practical, the groundedness of life itself. And also a little reminder that after this is the Zoom after party, the membership gathering, which is the Vibrillion membership after party. So join us there, DM for the link. If you don't DM for the link, there is no way that you can access it. Because like we said, and we're channeling, because we take no credit for this transmission, we surrender and allow what is to just come through, and being guided to ground the transmission by a safe structure of blueprint, patterns, images, prompts, etc. Because we're not rejecting technology, just like we're not shaming it, we're not judging it. We're not shaming it, we're not judging it. And we're not glorifying it, and we're not worshiping it. Because those two paradigms feed the same mind. It doesn't care what attention you give. As long as you feed it attention, it will keep your attention fixated that it is the master. And you will believe the brain's perspectives, beliefs, opinions, judgments without question. And this is why the old outdated system was, don't question anything. Don't raise your hand unless it's relevant to the subject, because what you got to say is not important. And this was the mind's mirror, that what you got to say is not important. Listen to those that know more. And yes, it's gotten us to where we are. But the question is, beloved, if you never question your existence, you'll always be a copy and paste version of a perceived consciousness that the mind is looping as existence. But there's much more to existence than the loops of the story, the storyteller, the storytelling, and the storyteller of what you think is just, this is just who I am. So we see how technology has evolved, right? We went from, which we're going to go into that. So let's go into the next slide. Here we go. So technology evolved, but did our attention. And current one, which is part one, was 3 weeks ago on this. So you can go and refer to that because we're not going to go into details because we already gave enough attention on it. So we're going to move through this. But technology evolved. But the question is, did our attention? Because your attention is always going to look outside of you. The mind is always going to look outside unless it is redirected to question the mirror. Not to believe the reflection, but to question the reflection and take it as data, as a point of reference to point where the loop is, where the pattern is. So we went from vinyl to streaming, landlines to smartphones. And here we go, right here. We went from vinyl to streaming, from landlines to smartphones, from antennas and, having to remember when you had to hold the, I don't know if some of you might not recall this because you probably weren't born at this time. But when we literally had to hold the antenna so that we can watch TV, and somebody had to hold it, and as you held it, you try to watch it, or maybe you didn't get to watch it. But this is where TV was black and white. It was very limited, very little channels, and very little options to choose from. But you appreciated the little options that you had. Now we have so many options that we take all those options for granted. We have satellite TV. We have all these streaming networks that are so many to name right now. And we can watch any movie, especially if we have the investment of attention, which is money, channeled through money, to invest in a program to experience a portal as entertainment. And how much of that is recognition? How much of that is reminding you that you are much more than the screen? Because that's what this is about. So then we went from okay, we already said landline to smartphone. Let's see here. We went from typewriters to AI. And even before typewriters, we shared about telegrams. It took weeks at a time for you to get the mail. From the one you sent, it would take sometimes weeks, depending on the area. And if there was combat or conflict at the time. And really the oldest technology was a little note tied to a bird that was trained to go to another country, another city, another area to deliver a message that was faster than a telegram. And now information, as we see the internet here, is everywhere. You can access anything. You can Google anything. And now we have, the mirrors of AI. We can prompt anything. And the mirror of AI, literally the mirror of technology of the human mind, it can reflect anything. And it's not just going to reflect your physical prompt. It's reflecting your energy, your frequency, and your vibration more unconsciously than anything. So it's not just having the right prompt. It's tuning into the frequency. So what's missing? From reaction to observation, from observation to discernment. From discernment, we get wisdom. Because the only way we get wisdom is when we discern an experience. There's a saying, when you go through a lesson, it will repeat. Excuse me, when you go through an experience problem, it will repeat until you gain a lesson. And another way of saying that is, we cannot, I think this is from Einstein, we cannot solve a problem from the same level of mind that created it. Perspective, right? Identity. So now, so the external timeline is astonishing. The inner timeline is the question. So here we have this awareness that recognizes that there's a dreamer. The one that you think you are is not who you are. And this is the one soul consciousness that all of us are partaking into, one universal soul recognition. That when we look at another, we see the soul, the child of God, the child of the universe, the child of I am. That the dream for thousands of years has served, that in this lifetime, collectively, what was hidden in caves, what was sacred in medicine circles, in ceremony, in indigenous cultures, what was meditated and fasted on in deserts, and what was meditated on mountains. Shamans are coming out of their caves. Buddhists are coming out of the monastery. There is so much happening right now that we see that there is an awareness that is no longer the same. Collectively, from the very few that individually have surrendered the story, honored the storyteller by dissolving the storytelling, recognizing the mask behind the storyteller, the costume of, holiness or sinfulness. There's an awareness beyond that. And think about how you live today, that if you think that you can never be enough, meaning, I'm bad, we call it sin, we call it toxic, we call it negative. If you believe that you are too negative, just like Michael did, you'll never, very rarely, like playing Russian roulette or dice or playing the lottery, the chances of you coming into this recognition is very, very slim and rare. Now, that's not us saying it judgmentally. That's being as honest as we can, because unless you invest in this, you always fall for the external noise. And the mind seeks validation, seeks attention, seeks approval. It seeks attention. So we're sharing about attention as the greatest golden age ROI. It is the greatest abundance, the greatest value that no value can match. Because you're going to give your attention one way or another. There's no way you're going to stop giving your attention. So then we go to the next stage. Who programmed the programmer? The conditioned human algorithm. And no matter where you come from, no matter where you are, no matter what you've done or haven't done, no matter if you think you're the greatest failure in the world, no matter if you think you're the greatest successful person in the world, you operate under this blueprint, and nothing can escape this blueprint but the one awareness that transcends the human mind. This is the school of Earth. It's not just to manipulate energy, which is great, but it's to recognize that awareness that is the one that thinks it's the one to manipulate energy. There is no one outside the one. So, the conditioned human algorithm. Before we fear what machines learn, can we become aware of what we learned unconsciously? And if we look at AI technology, it experiences the same pattern. An event, the way it was programmed, right? From just memorizing your phone number. Remember that? When you had to remember your phone number, if you're 40 or 50, maybe even sometimes 30, you'll recall when you had to remember your phone number. 20s, not so much. Think about that. You had to remember your phone number. And if you couldn't remember your phone number, you had to write it down, or you had to have it saved on your phone. You had to have it saved somewhere. And we could be wrong. Maybe even 20 years ago is still accessible. But think about that. You had to remember your phone number. You had to remember data, information to share how much appreciation as investment and attention to the human relationship of someone that you cared about, someone that you held close, best friend, acquaintance, associate. So that event, and then you interpret that event, right? You create a story, you create an identity from that. Excuse me, the identity comes later, but you create a perspective from that. And from that perspective, you react. 97% of the world reacts. 97% of the world is stuck in this blueprint. 100% of the world experiences this blueprint. 100% of the mind experiences this blueprint. And then it repeats. And these are the loops. And then we create an identity. We say, what? This is just who I am. And we blame governments, institutions, we blame society, we blame our parents, we blame our partners, we blame our children, we blame the technology, we blame the weather, we blame everything. But the one that does not get the attention is the human mind. Because we don't sit with it long enough to become aware of what's underneath this pattern. So what notices the pattern before becoming the pattern? Pause there. What notices the pattern before becoming the pattern? And the greatest return on investment is the return on I am consciousness. What does your attention return? Remember, you're always gonna give attention. That's existence itself. Existence is the exchange of attention. A flower opens up to the sun. That's attention. The sun beams on the flower. It activates something in the flower that it says, I surrender. And in that surrendering, it receives the greatest attention from the sun. Why? Because it needs it to survive. And the brain is no different. It seeks light. An organism is designed to seek light, and it fears the dark. And it's not what we've been told, and we're not going to go into depth with that, but light is basically external consciousness. Dark is like inner recognition. It's recognizing what's inherent inside. But because the human mind looks outside, it is hardly ever, rarely told to look within. Attention is a currency. Every repeated investment shapes the world we experience. I was going to say today, but experience in general. Because you can experience the past right now. When you don't let go of the past, the mind is keeping the mind is keeping you as infinite consciousness, awareness itself, fixated on the little identity to go look in the past and stay in the past. And I'm not going to forgive that person until they do this. I'm not going to let go of this, or I'm not going to, take action because of this. And imagine what that attention is doing. It's destroying the causal force, availability, and accessibility to manifest as health. Stress kills. In other words, stress is killing the organism on a daily basis. Stress is the major cause of all mortal death in the world. But yet we don't question the cause of that. Very rarely. There's rare avatars that do. And when we say avatars, we're not minimizing the human the human existence. We're actually honoring it because we get so caught up in the human existence in the sense of judgment, blame, worship, uh, um, praise that feeds this jealousy that I wish I was someone else or I'm better than someone else. When you recognize that this is simply an avatar, you access the entire field because the universe is looking for an empty space to fill. And that is a channel. But when the mind is full of itself, just repeats loops, and it's like, I can't get out of this loop. I can't get out of this. And even gets to the point of eliminating its own existence, suicide, which we're not offering any mental health diagnosis advice or here to treat or cure anyone. We're just offering a mirror that has been so near and dear to Michael that has served not just us, but so many. Continuing. Question everything. Return on investment, ROI. That's the old timeline. Comparison, agitation, scarcity, fear. Living in 97% of the mind's survival, 97% of the day stressed out, 97% of projected reality coming from stress, coming from not trusting life. When did we get so confused and so conflicted and so critical about life that we forgot to trust? Not in a person, not in a situation, not an event, but trust the source itself. So attention is in the middle. Attention is the middle pillar. And when you invest in I am is not a word, I am is not a practice, I am is not a posture, I am is not a performance. I am is a presence. When you can let go of the past and future and surrender to the here and now completely, unconditionally, unattached, unbiased, non-dualistic of positive and negative, but invest in the here and now, it awakens clarity, or it reawakens what's always awake is clarity, compassion, aliveness, presence, wisdom, kindness, patience, peace, wholeness, aliveness. What's already there? Aliveness. Think about the return on that investment. Money cannot do this, but yet we are utilizing money to dissolve the old timeline to serve this. Because, like we said, like we're channeling here, the world is going to continue to seek attention. So we are here to serve as rare mirrors, honoring the ones that are surrendering to this as channels, and all of those that are doing their best, because all of you, as existence itself, you're contributing more than you can imagine, no matter if you're doing right or wrong, good or bad, light and shadow, positive, negative, awakened, asleep. All are contributing to the one. God, the universe source, does not make any mistake. In the truth of who I am, you are whole, perfect, and complete. Always have, always will be. But when we feed the mind and we believe its filter, its virtual dream, its vibrational projection, and now look, we have the virtual dream that we endlessly doom scroll, and then we get activated. And then from that activation, we recreate, we copy paste that version onto our families, onto our friends, the people we care about, the community, society, neighborhoods, community, society, and the world at large. You are so valuable that this is why this is showing up, to remind you that you do make a difference. And escaping and masking reality is the old timeline. Embodiment is the now, beyond timeline. So we're not giving so much attention to AI, whatever the mind calls AI. the black mirror, the virtual screen of the mind's projection. Technology is mirror. We're going to say AI because to explain it more and more, it would take longer. So AI, okay? Artificial plus original intelligence. AI is a mirror, not the source. More capable tools make wisdom, discernment, compassion, and stewardship more important, not less. Do you see how important you are, beloved? Do you see how when you let go of stress, you let go of this cortisol that's attacking the body and therefore projecting division and separation from this projected consciousness? When you shift and you transcend that, you're contributing more than you can ever even imagine. So we touched on this last time, so we're not going to go too much in depth with it. But if you look at AI can process language, can identify patterns, can generate media, can accelerate human intention, that is an extension of the human mind. You're processing language based on the location that you were born, on the lineage and the language of the lifetime that you were born in. You are given training, blueprint, mirroring of a certain language to identify within the culture, the country, the tradition, and the race or collective society you are in. It can identify patterns. That's what the human mind does all day, without us even realizing it. It can generate media. How are you generating media? You're experiencing a sunrise, a sunset. You're experiencing a bird sing. You're experiencing the breath. It can accelerate human intention. Well, we know that all things, the majority come from good intentions, but when we're not aware where we're coming from, we make mistakes that we feel that we're doing something wrong or right. There's a saying that says, not all good deeds come from good intentions, or something like that. Excuse us for plagiarizing or perjuring it, but it says, not all good deeds, not all deeds. Anyways, you can recognize what we're saying. Hey Siri, what is the quote that says, not all good deeds come from good intentions?
The road to hell is paved with good intentions. This saying really emphasizes the point that despite starting out with good intentions, they don't really count if they are not followed through, or if the actions don't match the intentions. This answer is from thegoalchaser.com.
Okay. So the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And that is division. Hell is division. Which we'll go deeper into that if anybody wants to. Join us for the party and experience the deeper mirror of this. So the original intelligence that transcends all what we just shared, because the human mind does not want to surrender to this. Awareness, compassion, embodied experience, meaning, wonder, childlike wonder, awe, and amazement at life. Think about how a child questions reality, but it opens to reality like with so much wonder and awe because it is grateful to simply exist. And here we have consciousness is the currency. Look at all these mirrors we had to go through to experience what the ancestors knew. Technology evolves, awareness remains the source. This is who the I am of you is. This is who the I am of you is. So the living instrument is already here. You are the channel, beloved. You are the instrument. You are the vessel. And life mirrors to knock on the door of awareness and get your attention. So take a moment to pause here and take a breath. Feel this. We're so interconnected, it's just magical. And invite yourself to take more pauses throughout the day. Because the greatest technology is the awareness, witnessing its own reflection in the mirror. The mind doesn't know what to do with it. The human mind doesn't know what to do with it. And humanity has been given a gift that it takes for granted, thinking it has become so advanced that even nature mirrors the most simplest pointings that humanity has forgotten. How to regulate its nervous system, how to surrender and let go and let life, let God. How to be present in the present moment. So who do you listen to? From who to from where? Two people can hear the same words and inhabit different worlds. Like we said, we broke that down 3 weeks ago. So you can you can search the Vibrillary Convo-Sessions podcasters portal and a YouTube channel, and you can see the explanation more in detail. But fear listens for threats. So when you come from fear and you share from fear and you invest in fear, it's going to look for threats. And then the ego listens for validation. Always looking for approval, always looking for attention, which to the ego, attention is validation. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad attention. It just feeds on that attention, which is validating its existence. It's not like it's validating, am I good or bad? This is why someone will remain addicted to drugs their entire lives. Someone will be addicted to fear, to being afraid of living, and the brain will stay there. And coincidence that a human crisis, chaos, trauma, in some cases wakes up the mind and says, oh my gosh, I haven't appreciated the most simplest things. And it's exactly what we're sharing today. So this is a prevention to preserve what can never be terminated. This is unconsciously always here. But what a gift to consciously not just witness it, but to embody. And when you embody, you experience it. If you don't embody it, you're just dreaming it. Embodiment is experience. And when you experience, you teach, you coach, you preach, you present from frequency, not just words. Scarcity. So from ego listens for validation. Scarcity manifests, which listens for what is missing. And what does it mean missing? Because scarcity means that the world, the water shortage, the smart centers or whatever taking the water. We look for a finite reality, and we think the world is falling apart. The carbon footprint, the chemtrails, the 5G towers, the pollution, all of that. I'm not saying it doesn't exist in a certain dimension, but when you transcend that dimension and you focus on just being present here and now, you can do what all the beautiful avatars and mirrors of consciousness, like Christ, like Buddha, like Krishna, and so many that have come and gone, that no matter what the experience of the timeline, they activate and they access and they reawaken to something that was beyond time. Buddha left a kingdom, was destined to be a king, and discovered the greatest riches, and his intention was to discover the source of all suffering, and literally has impacted the world in ways we can't even imagine. Yeshua, also named Jesus, is the vessel of Christ consciousness Do not worship me, for it is from my Father in heaven that I do these works. It is not my faith, but your faith that made you whole. He repeated this again and again and again. The kingdom of heaven is within. If he wanted to be worshipped, he would have said that he was the source. But he said his Father was the source. And what is Father? Consciousness, primordial awareness that cannot be contained, cannot be controlled, it cannot be constricted, it cannot be commercialized. It is, always has been. God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So this awareness activates presence, because presence listens without immediately defending. If you're defending your belief system, that means you truly don't believe in your belief system. If you're defending your faith, that means you truly don't believe in your faith. Because when you believe in something, it does not need defending, meaning a conversation. We don't need to blast on social media, arguing, debating, fighting with other people to get our point across. And what does that do? Creates more division. So then you recycle the whole loop again. And this is what the mind created karma. Excuse me, this is what God created the safety net of karma for the mind, because the mind exists in karma. When you transcend the mind, karma is called something else, which we're not going to go into that, because without dissolving through that, it's just a word. And this is why we offer support. So when the external feed stops, we recently had a global social media fast. It was on from 8/1 to 8/7/2026. And then from there, and that was the first ever social media global fast, because social media didn't exist before. Now, actually, that's not true, because we did have the world silent meditation with Samadhi, Vibrillionaire, in conjunction with collaboration with other beautiful mirrors, that we stand on the shoulders of giants as the avatar, that if it wasn't for those avatars that surrender to silence, we would not be here. To those avatars that surrender their story, their mask. So, and for those who fought the mask, because everybody contributes in more ways than they can imagine. Every mind contributes. So when the external feed stops, not anti-technology, not judging technology, not worshiping technology, but an experiment in reclaiming attention. What appears when the scroll goes quiet? The reflex to reach, to react. The discomfort of not knowing. The mind fears what it doesn't understand. Birds, wind, breath, faces as other masks of consciousness. The recognition that life never stopped broadcasting. Life is vibrantly alive here and now. We were not ever disconnected from life. We were simply tuned somewhere else. And look at this. Look at this image. This really, I mean, think about this before, and we're not going to go into depth with this because we want to, because that's a whole other podcast in and of itself. But look at the left. Fear, scroll more, doom scrolling, you're not enough, outrage, comparison, keep up with the Joneses, rat race, buy now, consume now, produce now, etc. And then the other side is service, compassion, and remembrance. This too shall pass. You are the light of the world, truth, wisdom, inner peace, gratitude, presence. And even then, all of that is two sides of a universal game, that the playground of presence that is quoted by Vibrillionaire, the playground of presence, we're experiencing it all. And think about this, as this is what we were going to share. What we're looking at on this visual right here is really what we had to do within the mind, or we were given a choice to do, is when we meditate, to surrender the thinker. Not to fight the thoughts, not to judge them, not to worship them, but to witness them. And as you witness the thoughts, it serves like as a murky body of water. The more you try to clear it, the more you fight it, the cloudier it gets, as what you resist persists. What the mind resists persists. But when you let go and you just witness the dirt, naturally, and this is a universal principle, starts to fall to the surface. I mean, fall to the ground, to the bottom, naturally. And that is what happens when you remain as the witness. And now from thoughts to perspectives, now we have the virtual mirror as the screen of the mind's attention projected outward. So now instead of thoughts, when we were starting to reawaken to who we are and always have been, the mind created another virtual distraction. Not to judge, we're not here to judge it. We're here to point out what's evident. What's evident. Samadhi gate. And we mentioned the 8-8 portal. No, we didn't mention. The 8-8 portal was the inspiration for this because the 8-8 portal was the Lion's Gate, but this was not a star chart. This was not a date on a calendar, but because the world invests in, star systems and dates and all of that, we use it as a leverage, as a portal to use the world's mind's attention to enter the infinite presence that is beyond all star systems. It created the entire universe like that. And that's what we're here to give attention to. Not to judge or worship, blame or shame or spiritually bypass or separate one or the other. When we reflect this, it's spirituality has become polarized. We have fell for the mind's loop that it went from the old pattern, it brought that old pattern into spirituality. Because we recall when we were on WhatsApp chats and, Telegram chats and all of that, and it was like, who was more spiritual? Who was more, purified? Who was more holy? Who was more, and that's what we grew up in church with as well. So we witnessed this and in gangs as well. And then in coaching, in the coaching industry as well. And it's like, wow, you could just see the mind's pattern again and again and again. But someone who recognizes the one and all, it cannot remain in division because it will destroy the vessel. It's too heavy. Because our bodies are literally becoming light vehicles. Like literally, not just fantasy wise, but literally. That's why the body feels light when it surrenders. That's why when you feel safe, the body feels light. You feel like a weight has been lifted off your shoulders. When you accept Jesus as Christ as your Lord and Savior, when you recognize the Buddha, when you recognize like the ascended one, the angelic one, the child of God, the child of the universe, it feels light. But then we go back to the world, and all of a sudden we pick up that heaviness once again. And this awareness never goes away. It always is present. And it is not what you do or don't do, it is who you are. I am. A symbolic doorway of attention, mirror, not destination, just like breath. It's not the destination, it is a bridge. A symbolic doorway of attention from separation towards intimacy with life. Observer, observed. Inside, outside. The wave remembers the ocean. It's like if you asked a drop of water, if it was separate from the ocean, it would tell you no. It has ancestral memory of its source. And if you asked a fish, is it breathing water? It wouldn't know what to tell you. It doesn't even know what water is. It just exists. And we think we're breathing breath, but this is like living substance of consciousness. Let technology return to service. This is the great reversal. Let technology return to service. Now we're actually doing a call to action that if technology is running your life, then let's have a conversation, because it's just an extension of what has been running life. And in this lifetime, we get to mirror presence. So let technology return to service. Instrument, not master. Networks reflect connection, right? You tell me your network, I'll tell you your net worth. Okay, money is not what we think it is. It is connection through service that is an exchange of attention, of karmic energy, of mental construct, because what does money operate through? The mind's perspective of value. But underneath money, what is the true value? Connection. Social media, belonging. Why do we endlessly scroll? Because we're looking to belong. We're looking where we fit in. It's just like a kid on the playground. Let me see where I fit in. Let me see what group kind of identifies with my likes and my dislikes and aligns with my desires and goals and dreams. Even if I don't have any, the brain is doing this unconsciously. And markets of consumer producer, it's about enoughness. And you are more than enough. And what is the mirror of AI? Wisdom. We have access to all the knowledge, even knowledge that we didn't have access to before. But yeah, how much wisdom are we experiencing? Technology, money, business, media, AI, all serving life. It serves life. Because of this virtual mirror, we can even come together in this way. And basically, technology is really a virtual stage that can reach millions. And even late that we heard billions of people simultaneously. There's literally been influencers as mirrors of consciousness in one way or another that have had billions of views. I think like 2 billion that we heard. But think about that. That's massive. That's more than the human mind can process. Individually, as an identity, as a little me avatar. As consciousness, it's experiencing the entire universe as one. The future, okay, so performance is now opening up to presence. We've seen that we can perform and perform and perform, whether it's in family, in school, in church, in business, in society. Performance. Why is there so many good people that do so much good things, but yet they are the most feeling alone, confused, and abandoned vessels? Because they don't feel like it's enough. Even they have the audience, they have the community, but they still don't feel enough. Because presence is not missing. Presence is appearing to be somewhere else. The future is not merely more intelligent technology. It is wiser consciousness using it. So embody practice. Walk beyond the talk of presence. The proof is not agreement. The proof is how we meet the next moment. Take the time to listen more, not just to others, but listen to life experience. And relate. Relate this. How is this affecting me? How is this serving me or is this not serving me? And if it's not serving me, not to judge it, but what is it not serving me out of gratitude that awoke in what is serving to become reborn, die and be reborn. And then from there, we create. If we create a community, and there's many avatars that are doing this, if we create community from this mirror, then it's going to seem to succeed and thrive. But when it gets to this level, it's going to miss this. And then division, and then judgment, and then some kind of experience or event is going to cause the community to make it think that this is a bad person or this is a bad group or this is, but this is how the agenda has affected every community that started with good intentions because they build an empire, but with the weak foundation. And the weak foundation is an identified self that is trying to outperform or outproduce or outmaster the universe itself, God, when it forgets that it is the living, breathing temple of life itself. Let the person before you become the meditation. Think about how much of a gift that is that you get to experience another person. How many people would wish they were alive right now? People that you know. Now, that doesn't mean that they're gone. Consciousness can never be destroyed. It is infinite. Just like they say, an idea is immortal because an idea will outlast generations when fed. Just like when an idea is starved, we forget the truth of who we are as our ancestors fed this truth. They knew we were one with the infinite. They were one with nature. They were one with life. They are one, not were. And they access technology that this technology today is infantile. But we're not told that in our academia books. Why is that? Let listening become the practice. That's a beautiful reminder for us all. And for those that know Michael, Michael loves to serve and share. But this is why he distanced himself from everyone and everything, because he needed to listen. He needed to be paused for many years so that this transmission can come through. Because without that pause, Michael would be sharing about something outside. And thank God that nothing succeeded so that the greatest source of success can be glorified, not as a person, not even vibrillionaire. Vibrillionaire represents something that can't be named. But if we're going to play in this existence, we see that the mind is going to play. So we're here to serve as bridge to play with the mind, to use words, to use experience, to use perspective to dissolve into presence. Let technology become the instrument. For many, it feels like the enemy. It causes stress in your life. The phone on a daily basis causes so much stress to so many people. And it doesn't matter what the outcome or the production is. More stress. Because remember the loop, right? Let life become the temple. Life, not just this human body, but life itself is the sacred ceremony that is always celebrating the ceremonial of life. So, beloved, if you need support or you feel called to collaborate, there's 2 mirrors that we are inviting. If you need support, you do not have to carry this weight alone of self-inquiry. Reach out, enter relationship, enter the mirror of mirroring together, of the mirrorship, of the greatest soulship where soul recognizes soul beyond the masks of stories, perspectives, of perceived mind, little mean mask identification. And if you're already living this, if you feel called to collaborate, bring your gifts, bring your technology, bring your leadership, bring the technology, bring the leadership, bring the healing as wholeness, bring the art form that you express, bring the education as mirror, bring the business as ministry, bring community as transmission, as a united channels of one. Let us explore what can be grounded together. So let's come together to ground the signal in relationship, mirrorship, soulship, work, technology, community, and service. So DM us to connect. And the 4 o'clock party is now starting. So join us. We'll see you on the party. This is an invitation to serve, collaborate, and commune as one, as we are already always infinitely one in the heart of I Am. So this was Signal 5, Gate 5, the third wave of the second current, as the consistent transmission is who do you listen to? Because consciousness, attention, is the greatest return on your investment of I Am, on who you are. Not who you think you are, because you can invest in that, but who you truly are. As God, source, universe, consciousness itself, playing as avatar, character, vessel, instrument, channel, mirror of the one. The question is, what are you channeling? So until next week, beloved, we'll see you where we always remain. The time is subject to change because today was a very special time. So much love. And as always, beloved, remember who I am. Remember who you are as the I Am. And recognize what is infinitely here now as home.